Hi, guys. This is as close to 6:30 as I could get it with the two terror gremlins running around, one right in front of me. So we are going to get into chapter 3 of Waking Up Dead. One of these days, I'm going to figure out how to stream this on Facebook Live and TikTok as well. But today is not that day. I am not up for quite that challenge. So without further ado, chapter 3, and that is called Decisions. So what happens now? Cadence asked as she settled back into the chair in Osmond's office. Now you get a little time to think about your decision, Snow said as he sat down in his chair as well. What decision? Your decision about whether you want to stay on as a kind of ghostly police officer or not. Snow leaned back in his chair and crossed one leg over the other. That's not a decision, Cadence said with a scoff. It's a foregone conclusion. I'm a cop. It's what I do. Alive or dead, apparently. You're sure? He regarded her with interest. It's not like you haven't earned your rest. For someone only 30, you've dealt with quite a lot. Excuse me. The terror gremlins are sitting here trying to change my pages. Now I gotta find it. There we go. Not on the keyboard. Not on the keyboard. Okay. Chaos gremlins, go. It's not like you haven't earned your rest. For someone only 30, you've dealt with quite a lot. Cadence shrugged, trying to appear unemotional as she still hurt from the encounter with Andy, but she preferred to ignore it for now. Ignoring her emotions was something she did very well, and she'd gotten a lot of practice over the years. She would do well to take the advice that she had given to Andy, move on. For her, the best way to do that was to stay busy. Everyone has a lot that they go through, she said as she dismissed Snow's concern. One way or another, we all have baggage. But this is what I want to do. I became a cop because I wanted to help people. If there's a way I can still help despite being dead, that's the way I'm going to choose to go. Well, I'll be the last person to want to stand in your way, that's for sure, Snow said and smiled. You're a hell of a detective from what I've seen, he said and tapped her file. I'm sure you'll make a hell of an officer here too. Thanks. So how does this work? Do I have to go meet with somebody, attend some kind of police academy for ghosts? Do I need to check the ghost paper for ethereal apartment listings? She added, as the last was a try to make a joke to lighten up the mood. Snow laughed and shook his head. He was feeling a bit better about this now. She had a certain amount of spunk and determination to get through things. He admired that. You'll be set up with something of an apartment. There's no academy per se, but you will be partnered with a mentor who shows you the ropes of the job on this side of the grave. They also help you to adjust to existing here. Oh, lucky you. You finally get to shove me off onto somebody else, she said and chuckled. Then she paused, seeing him shift uncomfortably in his seat. Wait, you mean you're my new partner? I am, he said. Is that all right? Not that it would really make much of a difference if it wasn't with her, but he tried to be polite. I guess. I mean, nothing personal. It's just the idea of a new partner. She shifted a little in her chair as she rolled the idea of him as her new partner around in her mind. I know, he said with a nod. Especially after Mr. Halloran, I can see how the idea of someone new wouldn't sit too well with you. Nor, knowing how private a person you are, does the idea of partnering with someone who has seen you at your most vulnerable, grieving and lost. You should know I've been there too. That's why they partner us together from the moment someone crosses over. That way you have one person who has been through it so they can understand what the other is going through. My mentor was my partner from the moment I died in the late 60s until just a few weeks ago. So don't worry about my having seen you in an emotional moment. I'm not going to use it against you or think any less of you for it. Besides, we're ghosts. Transparency goes with the territory. He smiled, trying to add a bit of lightness to the situation with his own attempt at a joke. He was rewarded by a returned smile, and she nodded. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Just so you know, I'm staying away from fire escapes from now on. Agreed, he said and chuckled. So you spent the last almost 50 years with your mentor? Does it take that long to learn the ropes here? Did your mentor move on to mentoring someone else? Or can we die again or something? Move on to heaven or hell or whatever it is that's waiting? He decided to leave the more existential question alone for now. Answering it would likely just bring more questions, and that line of thought wasn't as important right at this moment. My mentor was Alistair Croft. He decided that he was no longer going to take on any more trainees. I was his last, and I suppose no one saw any need to move us on to other partners until he was promoted a few weeks ago. He spent a very long time mentoring and training officers during his time. So he's been doing this for a while? She asked. Snow nodded. Yes, he was an officer back in the Whitechapel days. The what? Cadence asked. Sorry, Jack the Ripper. Oh, did he die during that investigation? Oh, no, he died some years after. That was his heyday, though, to hear him tell it. But yes, he's been training officers for some time. Did you get a little downtime between being let go and getting me, or did you work the entire time on your own? Cadence was finding that the answer to one question only led to more. Well, there was some downtime, as you say. Regions had to be assigned and shared out. I had a partner for a little while, but it was a temporary situation for both of us. We were both waiting for new recruits. Regions? Yes, as you would say, the area where we have jurisdiction. We have a particular region that falls under us to protect and police, but we can discuss more of that tomorrow. For now, we should get you settled into your lodgings. It's not quite an apartment like you're used to. You'll not have a bathroom or a kitchen, as you have no need for them, but you will have a living room and a bedroom. Cadence nodded and rose as he did. She was ready to follow her new partner as he showed her to her new home, but the door had opened before they reached it, and a woman who looked to be in her 60s walked in. Oh, I'm sorry, she said, backing up a step so as not to be right in Snow's face. You asked me to get you if there was a call. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. We'll be right there, Snow said. A call? Kate asked as the woman left the office. Yes, this will be a good chance to give you some training. That is, if you're up to it, of course. Sure, what the hell, she said, as her shoulders lifted in a shrug and the corners of her mouth upturned a bit into a smile. Wonderful. He led her out into the wide open space full of desks and computers and people. They crossed the room and stopped by the desk of the woman who had gotten them. It's a sleepover, the woman explained, pointing to the monitor where a handful of young teenage girls could be seen huddled around a Ouija board. 6 girls, 12 to 14 years old. Cadence watched, confused about what the kids said a sleepover had to do with anything. They finished setting up their game, and then they each put a hand on the planchette. As they did, the phone on the desk began to ring. Snow motioned for Cadence to watch as he picked up the phone but stayed silent, his eyes on the monitor. The planchette made slow circles on the board, and the woman sitting at the desk turned up the volume on her computer. Is there anyone here who would like to communicate? One of the girls asked. Yes, Snow said, and on the monitor, Cade watched as the planchette slid to that word on the board. The girls all seemed spooked by this. Are you serious? Cade asked. This is what we do? Snow shook his head in reply, but put a finger to his lips, indicating she should be quiet for now. You're moving it, Brittany, one of the girls accused the other as the planchette went back to idly circling the board. No, I'm not, the one named Brittany said loudly in protest. Stop it, another girl said, and then asked another question. Did you die in this house? No, Snow said, and the planchette obediently slid to that word on the board. What is your name? The same girl asked as the giggles of the other girls started to abate. Bob. Snow spoke the word onto the phone, and sure enough, the letters spelled out on the board. Let me, one of the girls said. Bob, do you know everything? At that, Snow handed the receiver over to the woman. Thank you, Betty. I just wanted to show Cadence here a little of what you do. Betty smiled and took the receiver and began spelling out another answer for the teens as Snow led Cadence away from her desk. That's what you do? Party tricks? No, that's not what you and I do, he answered. But things that are used to make contact with spirits, like those boards, do call into that area, and they're the ones who answer. Cadence laughed. You're telling me this area is a Ouija board call center? Snow paused a moment, thinking it over, then nodded. In a way, yes. They also monitor haunted locations for signs of trouble. They have a lot of responsibilities, but I thought you might find that a bit interesting. So if a kid pulls out a board, they're talking to someone here. Most of the time, Snow nodded. There are times when something or someone else takes the call before us, like demons. We prefer to call them non-human spirits. Now, shall I show you to your new home? Lead the way, she smiled and gestured for him to lead the way. They stood outside the door of a very noisy cat. They stood outside of the door in a fairly unremarkable hallway. The door, however, was unique in that it did not have doorknob. Snow gestured to the door. Your touch is the key to open it. Cadence reached forward, hesitating only for a moment before laying her hand on the cool, smooth wood of the door. The door swung open and Cadence stepped inside, followed by her new partner. She let out a low whistle as she looked around. This is mine? The main room was very nicely appointed with rich blues and creams and soft fabrics and rich woods. The couch was pale blue suede with darker blue and cream-colored pillows and silk and velvet neatly placed on it. The carpet appeared to be made of a very thick, soft pile. The coffee table was dark wood that seemed to have been polished to a high shine. Pardon. Seemed to have been polished to a high shine. One item in the living room stood out tremendously to Cadence, and her jaw dropped in surprise. We get TV? Not like what you're thinking, no. This is a way you can check in on those you love and watch over them. There is the usual, this is the great part about having a cat going after the door chain. Down, Chaos Gremlin. Not like what you're thinking, no. This is a way you can check in on those you love and watch over them. There's the usual 2-week ban for the newly arrived, so the screen is useless to you now. When they send me word of your activation, I'll be happy to show you how to use it. 2 weeks? Who decided that? It's generally the time it takes for some of us to begin to let go and move on. Some go through it faster, others slower, but generally 2 weeks is the time frame we use before we let spirits look back in on what they've left behind. Do you ever have any who won't let go? Those like that, who never want to let go, are haunting spirits. But that pertains more to work than home, so we'll discuss that tomorrow. Does your place look like this? She asked as she ran a hand over the soft fabric of the couch. No, it's different. Our homes tend to cater to our personalities. Cadence looked around at the soft, plush fabrics and colors and arched an eyebrow. I'm a cop. I hardly think soft and frilly fits me. Cadence, you're dead, he said plainly. No more facades are necessary. There's no need to keep up the tough appearance. Thank you for sneezing. There's no harm or shame in enjoying the feel of velvet or soft cushions. No need to be ashamed of having a softer side. Cadence looked back at him and narrowed her eyes a moment. Why is it I get the feeling you know a whole lot more about me than you've said? Snow merely smiled and lifted his shoulders in a shrug without saying a word. How much do you know? How much do you wish me to know? Wow, that is so very not an answer. Forgive me, I know a great deal about you. I did have to read your file after all, and it did not simply keep to the details about your work performance. This is the afterlife. It had details about everything, so I can best help you adjust. Cadence frowned and shifted her weight from foot to foot. You would prefer me to have lied? Osmond asked. No, it's just, I don't know. It's not normal for me to open up to anyone. I know so little about you, and yet you seem to know a whole hell of a lot about me. I just feel flat-footed and at a little bit of a disadvantage, she explained. She didn't like people knowing things about her that she hadn't told them. It made her feel exposed, naked. I'm not trying to make you feel like that. I just have to know about you. It helps me assist you through the transition. Cadence nodded. I get it. I do. It's just weird for me. I'm the kind of person that just doesn't open up to others, which I'm sure you know since you seem to know so much about me. It's just not something I'm used to, and it's been a hell of a day. Yes, well, it's not every day that you die, get a new job, a new home, in that order. He added the last with an understanding smile. He pointed to a darkened archway. Your bedroom's through there. And yes, you will need to sleep and recharge your energy. Clothing is something of a mental image matter. As I explained to you earlier, I'm not sure how it will work for you, but I personally have drawers of clothes and change on a daily basis. Really? Yes, they do try to keep things somewhat normal, especially for those making the transition. And I'd hazard a guess you are not absorbing information anymore. She looked tired, and her eyes seemed to be glazed over. He reached out and took her arm. Come on. He led her through the darkened archway. The room beyond lit up as they entered. There was a chest of drawers against one wall and a wardrobe, both of which the same rich dark wood that the coffee table was made from. The bed was easily a king size and had a maroon velvet comforter on it. Snow pulled down the covers and Cadence eased down into the bed. My apartment is just across the hall. I'll pick you up in the morning, but if you need me in the meantime, I'll be there, okay? Cadence nodded, feeling the wash of fatigue all through her. It had indeed been a hell of a day, and she was feeling every second of it. Her head hurt, her muscles felt like lead, and all she wanted was just to curl up and sleep. She laid back, enjoying the feeling of the soft mattress, fluffy pillows, and cool sheets, and a warm blanket. I would say sweet dreams, but I think you'd be happier if you didn't dream at all. He let her lie down, then tucked her in before he turned to leave. Osmond? Yes, Cadence? Can I call you Oz? Absolutely not. They smiled at each other, and then Snow turned and left, and Cadence drifted off to sleep. And as last week was a horrifically long chapter 2, this was a pretty short chapter 3. However, I'm sure you can hear that my voice is a little strained today, and I am not going to push it today. So I hope you enjoyed chapter 3. I think I'm going to leave it here because I have the terror gremlins, my chaos terror gremlins, and I'm going to go rest my throat, have some hot tea, and get back to writing Sentinel's Roar and Deadwoods. Probably Sentinel's Roar tonight because I'm getting closer to being finished with it. So I hope you all have a good night. Enjoy.